So the church has a liturgical year that it follows. You know, there's Christmas and Easter and all those kind of things. And throughout the year, we have these little things called feasts. So there's holy days and then there's feasts. And feasts are very big events, and they bump Sundays. So normally this would just be the 18th Sunday in ordinary time, no big deal. But it's the feast of the Transfiguration, which is every year on August 6th. And so, sorry, St. Lucy. We can celebrate the rest of the day with you. But liturgically, we're in the Transfiguration. So, as you heard, this is that moment when Jesus goes up to the mountain with his couple close friends, Peter, James, and John, and there's something amazing happens. They hear a voice. They see him differently. The church also uses this gospel a lot of times during Lent, because as it is in the gospel itself, it happens before Jesus goes to Jerusalem. So it's up on that mountain, traditionally Tabor in Israel, and then they head to Jerusalem. So it gets them ready for the suffering and the challenges that lie ahead. Though I'm not sure how effective it was. Peter, he talks about it in that second reading today. He brags about it. We heard the voice. We heard the voice on the mountain that said, "This is my beloved Son. I'm well pleased with him." But then what happened when Jesus got arrested? Where did Peter go? What did Peter do? Denied him, ran away. Think, well, Peter, it didn't make that big of an impression on you so that you would be brave when it came that time. But maybe because he saw a little glimpse of Jesus' glory when it came time for the resurrection, it's why he ran to the tomb, because he was sure he would rise again. Perhaps it gave him that kind of courage there. But I've often wondered over the years if that's the best word to describe the event, what we call it, the Transfiguration, to be transfigured. I think there must be a better word. I don't have one to suggest, but it strikes me as a little bit odd. It's like Jesus became something different at that moment. He was transfigured. Well, he didn't change. Jesus was divine, and Jesus was human. But for most of the time, his followers, and you and I, couldn't see the divinity. They were, like Peter, James, and John, have something over their eyes, so all they could see is Jesus' humanity. And then for just a little moment, they lose that. And for a little moment, they see Jesus as he is, both human and divine. So they're able to see a little bit of his glory. So it's more of a revelation than a transfiguration. Who Jesus is revealed. What they might have thought was true. And revelation makes more sense to me because it also happens to you and me. At least if I can believe the Pew Research, which says that when they talk to you guys and ask you, how many of you have had an experience of transcendence where you have felt an overwhelming presence of God? And they say, half of you say yes to that. Half of you have said, yep, yeah, there was once where I really sensed God in an overwhelming way. And I was never the same again. Now, it may not be all that spectacular of a moment, at least in the history of the church, what the great mystics talk about. Those moments where you sense the presence of God in a powerful way are sometimes very simple as they are profound. A fellow I've known for quite a while now was a really strong atheist for a long, long time. He was a scientist, just could not believe that there was a God. And then when his first child was born, he sensed the presence of God in an overwhelming way and became a Christian. It was the birth of a child. Sometimes it might be sitting around a bar having a bunch of beers with your friends. And in that moment, you sense the presence of God. And you think, oh my gosh, God is here with my friends sitting around this place. Can't you feel him? Can't you sense God here now? Maybe it's just sitting in the parking lot at Target one day, and something strikes you different. You sense God. Maybe it was just one time sitting on your front porch, you saw a bird or a tree, and you sensed God there. Because they are so simple, they're hard to describe to anybody else. And so maybe the half of you that say, no, I've never, haven't had that kind of experience, it might be because you've tried to explain it to others and they think you're crazy. You know what? I saw this tree the other day. Yeah. It was amazing. God was just so present in the life of that tree. And it just touched my heart. Great. You want to go out and do something now then? How do you describe the presence of God that is so simple but so profound? Now, the mystics also tell us that if it truly is God, then you can't program it. You cannot make it happen. Just like these three guys on the mountain. They probably wanted it again. That's why Peter wanted to stay. Let's make tents. This is so great. Let's just stay here. But no, you can't. Because that's the nature of God. God reveals and then God disappears. It's fleeting. If you could go to your room and do some meditation and just feel an overwhelming presence of God, not God. You're just a great meditator. You're really good at that, but not God. God comes on occasion. But the mystics also tell us, if we don't pray, if we don't spend the time, it ain't going to happen. Just like if you want to see the sunrise, you got to get up. I never saw a sunrise, no. Because you were in bed every morning. No, if you want to find God, go where God is, where Jesus said he would be. And then on occasion, an amazing thing will happen. And even if amazing things don't happen, other things do. Because that's the incredible thing about spending time with God. Other stuff happens right around you. One of my favorite stories of that in Scripture is shortly after Jesus ascends into heaven, Peter and John are out preaching around the town, and while they're preaching, they get arrested, they get scourged, They get put in jail. They're chained up to the wall, arms, ankles, kind of like in the comics, the guys hanging there on the wall. And not a real comfortable spot to spend the night. But Peter and John don't complain. They're not saying, okay, this is horrible, Jesus, why are we stuck here? No, they don't do that. You know what they do? They sing songs. Songs of praise to God. And while they sing songs, everybody else listens. And then there's an earthquake. And when the earthquake happens, the chains break off their arms and their ankles, and the jail door flies open. And the guard who is guarding them goes to kill himself because he thinks he'll be in a lot of trouble for letting the prisoners out. And they yell at him, "Stop, hey, don't kill yourself, we're still here." "Well, why are you still here?" "We're singing songs." "Well, come on out. You're free." He becomes a Christian. And they continue preaching. Amazing things will happen just if you take a little time and spend it with God. Life will be transfigured.